are we, and is the way we're living, is it what we all want? Because that should be what technology is about. It should be about giving us what we want and helping make our lives easier. And sometimes between what happens with the money side of things, it doesn't give us that. And so as someone who loves VR, I want to see it help people learn to do the things they want to do. I want to put on my Quest and use the pass-through to learn to play the piano, something I've always wanted to do. And that's possible now. That's what these things should be doing. It shouldn't become some money pit that I'm stressed out about because my team doesn't have enough resources. I need to get in and help them collect resources and pay more money to win this game that ultimately doesn't change the way I live.
Yeah, that's definitely a good way of looking at it, because technology itself is evolving to make things more convenient for us, but at the same time, the people at the top are taking great advantage of what is becoming more convenient for us, and they're exploiting it to a certain sense. And yeah, like what you've said there, you can do whatever you want with technology as it progresses. You can learn the piano if you want to learn the piano. It can be used for surgeons to be able to perform surgery from across the world. That shouldn't make healthcare more expensive. That should make healthcare cheaper. So people just need to be aware of the negatives of technology, the positives of technology, but actually look at what kind of impact it's going to have on humans, and what's fair about that impact for humans. If the technologies are getting better and things are getting easier to do, it shouldn't be harder for people to have access to that technology. And I think surgery is one of the main sort of points which I want to get across, because if that evolves and gets easier, that should become cheaper in hindsight.
Like with technology, though, like this is just something I'm just thinking now. Without the sort of corporate greed, would technology have advanced as far as it has? That what we're seeing today, without all that money being sort of sucked up and then being reinvested into R&D. Obviously, not all of it does.
Question. And there's some interesting theories on this, because sometimes people say technology would be better because they purposely slow things down. Companies like NASA, who may have technology that's light years ahead of what's being used by the main market, doesn't share that. Someone who creates something patents it and doesn't let someone else take the technology and make it even better because they want to keep making money off it. They need that. So there's a side that says it'd be way better. But then there's a side that says, oh, people had to fight for money, and because of that, they innovated and made something when they needed to. And we don't have a case study that can prove either way. But if I had the means, I would love to just put 1,000 people on payroll for a year, and let them all just live their lives and see what they ended up doing by the time they'd been out of work long enough. Because I wouldn't be out sharing the things that I found in VR that helped me on the internet with people if I had stayed in that corporate cycle. And what would that have meant? Starbucks stock would have gone up a billionth of a percent because I was running my store better than other people were? Or is what I'm doing now more valuable because I'm helping people enjoy something they want? It's hard to say. But if I hadn't taken this spot that I have on YouTube, would someone else have just taken this? Would there be another person sitting here with my channel and talking to you while I was still at Starbucks working?
Yeah, but then you'd need people at Starbucks working, or at those sort of jobs working, to make sort of what we see as the world going round. Like, if there was nobody working in like your local grocery store, you'd walk in and there'd be nothing on the shelves, right? Like, not everybody can be
unless
YouTubers.
Automation took over and we allowed it, instead of worrying about the jobs and saying everyone needs to have a job. If we just said, let's just all figure out how to make the robots do the things we don't want to do, and let's just embrace it. Maybe we're at a point as a society where we could actually get rid of every menial, awful job no one likes and let the robots replace it, instead of holding on to this feeling that people need jobs, and not let them go chase their passions.
Yeah, because I guess there's enough money in circulation, definitely with taxes and so on. The technology's there and the money somewhat there, depending on what you see money as right now. But if they wanted to actually automate everything and say, we're going to automate everything, all of these jobs which don't require much creativity, automate all these, and everyone can be creative with their mind and see what comes out of it. And like you said with NASA or the military have all of this equipment? Because I heard VR has been around for, I think Aaron told me VR's been around for a very long time, but the military kept hold of it until we were ready as a.
Yeah, so I heard on a podcast that VR was patented in 1960. I don't know if you've heard that as well.
I think that it goes back that far. What there's an argument though that some people say it goes back as far as those like 3D picture holders people held up to their face, like 1800s, and they say that was like original. But I think it goes back even further. If you look at some of the original, like the weird, I can't remember the name of it right now, but there's like this big weird machine that you sit in front of and it like had two screens you looked into. There's been all kinds of iterations, but there is a lot of, whether it's true or conspiracy, there's a lot of belief that governments have technology 100 years ahead of us and they release it slowly so that no one can ever get an advantage over the government. I don't know if that's true, but I do think that as far as automation goes and robotics, I think that we are at a point, if we wanted to, we could eliminate jobs and maybe even money, but we've always had it. So it's hard to imagine. We think everybody's just going to sit on the couch and watch TV all day. But as I can tell you, as someone who was enabled to do that, when I quit work and my wife said she was going to continue to make sure that we were taken care of and I could chase my passion, do what I want, there was like 6 to 9 months where I didn't do much because it was hard. You know, I was first out of it. You have to like detox from all that. But then I was like, I want to do something. Fame is never something that I've chased. But I think about fame, whether money exists or not, fame will always exist. And if there was no money, maybe fame is the person who figured out how to develop the new robot that now does an even better job. You know, it would almost be like our currency would be reputation. And so you would still want to change people's lives or help people or do something with your time if you had nothing to do with your time. And there would still be famous people because they are the people who have done good things that have changed our lives instead of them just hoarding the most money.
And I guess it would allow artists, as in, say, like music artists, some of them would just release songs. Like when I first started listening, say, Kendrick Lamar, for example, I really liked his album. And then his next album, I don't know, like it wasn't as good. But some artists will like release commercial music just for the sake of making money. Some will have an artistic expression. Whereas if there was no money or money, everything was covered, like the living cost, everything was covered. Like they didn't need any money to survive. They would just produce music that they wanted to produce.
Yeah. When money doesn't enter the equation, your creativity can be totally different because you don't have to worry about starving to death. We pit everyone in a constant state of needing to survive, and that stifles what they may have done because they had to survive.
Yeah.
It's like what we were saying earlier about in the gaming industry, that passion gets replaced by greed.
By greed, yeah.
And it's ultimately money. You know, a lot of times we always want to think there's this one person on high or this group of people that are making these decisions to ruin it. But when you trace it back, it seems like it's actually just money itself existing makes everyone chase this money. Because if we didn't have money, but we still had trade, like at some point you have 3 desks. You're not going to go, I want another desk. Like at some point there is a say where you say, okay, I have enough. But with money, you can always have more. It can always be in your account. It can always be higher. But like if you were to tell Jeff Bezos today, okay, you have the rest of your life and you have to spend all the money you have before you die, his money would become something he hated because you wouldn't be able to use it all up. But you can hoard it in an account forever and pass it down to your family, whatever you want to do with it. It's something that does not exist. So you can have an unlimited amount of it and still feel like it's never enough.
That's a deep way of looking at it, but I don't even say it's deep, actually. It's very much understandable, right? It's not going deep. It's just the way it's run at the moment. And like you said, it's not about the person. It's about the money itself. Money in our society, it's running itself. You chuck it around and people are chasing it. And there's no one out there who's in charge of it all to say, enough's enough. The cat is out of the bag and everyone's going crazy for it.
Yeah.
But you do get the people, where I could see probably change from starting is there's a lot of people who enjoy playing the game, and it means manipulating a lot of people. That's where it needs to get switched around, because you've got like the Jeff Bezos, the Elon Musks, who are manipulating what they're doing. Apple, for example, their marketing's on point, which is manipulating a whole market to think I need this iPhone over this Samsung. They're all doing it, and it's all to broaden their bank accounts, but no one's actually helping the people that they're catering. I know you could stress, well, Jeff Bezos is helping us because if I need something tomorrow, I can get it on Amazon Prime tomorrow. But is that actually helping us, or is that making us? Is he manipulating us to think he's helping us?
We're buying more. It actually goes back to Aaron's point from earlier, because I was thinking about how, with what we were just saying, like you get to where you think you need these things, and like, so does that mean Apple's innovating more? Does that mean, oh, money has driven them to make a better iPhone? Or is the iPhone 14 basically the iPhone 13, but they're telling you need to buy it? What if every phone company wasn't thinking about money and they were just thinking about building the best phone that would do the most and last the longest? Would we innovate much better phones than we are now? Or would we trickle these things out over several years so we can keep making more money?
And you can even see that in the gaming industry with the PlayStation 4 to the PlayStation 5. Not that much of an upgrade.
But yeah, was it really something we all needed, or was it just time to release another console? And they were like, okay, we got to release another console, we got to make it under this price so people can afford it. Where if they were just thinking, let's release another console, let's make it the most mind-blowing thing we can, don't worry about money, would they have made something way better? And would we be speeding faster towards progress versus worrying about how we're going to keep making that money over the next 10 years by releasing not quite as good of tech right now for the next 10 years?
Yeah, and we think, well, no, the industry's fine because there's competition. There's PlayStation, there's Xbox, there's Samsung, there's iPhone. We're all thinking, oh, it's healthy competition. But they wouldn't do that because they're competing, when it's quite clearly obvious they're working together. Definitely Xbox, well, Microsoft and Sony for the consoles. They're pricing them at the same points. Their specs are practically identical. They're released at the exact same time. That isn't a healthy competition. That's more of a partnership in a sense.
Illusion,
yeah, it's controlling the market. What if they just said, screw it, we're going to work together and make the coolest console ever for everyone? What kind of console would we have right now?
But then it comes back to that. Then with them monopolizing the whole industry, yes, they might make a console. The next console, the first console they make together, might be a hell of a step up to the PlayStation 5s and the series, Xbox series. But then after that, they're going to be like, we've got them now. So why should we invest any money into R&D when we can just make the controller a little bit more streamlined for the hands? Or add this gimmick to it and charge them the same amount again every 3 years.
Yeah, that's what we don't know, because no one's really seen it happen or done it. Stop biting my microphone. But it is that question of like, would we be further along or further behind if money didn't play a role? And we don't know. But I hope at some point in my lifetime, I would love to see us get to find out.
It's a complex question, because I feel like money has done a job where it's organized society up to now, where I feel like we're coming to the end of like capitalism as we've known it. It feels like we're coming to the end of it. We're seeing crazy inflation, corruption in governments all around the world, and corporations just getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Maybe it's time to abolish money and just make sure everyone's taken care of. Maybe that would be a totally different concept to try for a while and see what happens.
But then what worries me is who's going to be in charge of that.
That's the thing. I think that we have to have everybody actually be in charge, but how does that work? You know, we see now with politics that things can be corrupted and changed. So how do you find that group that can actually all vote together or work together decide what is the common good when so many people think that what's good for everyone and other people think it's the total opposite. I don't know, but I think we've gone far enough to see what the result is of what we've done. So maybe it's time to think what would happen if we tried something else. It might be a bit of an experiment, but I mean, even just something as simple as like scam phone calls. If money didn't exist, those wouldn't exist. There would be no point. And all those people working in these scam call centers would be able to do something else with their time. Those are jobs that literally only exist because of greed for money and the ability to steal it from other people, where if you only had all the goods you owned, like, yeah, there's still burglaries or robberies, but like someone doesn't want to come steal 3 desks from your house when they have 3 desks at their house. Like, you can always steal more money from people.